Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive space station floating in front of his ship. The Aurora's Edge had traveled for 3 months to reach this place called Concordia Prime. It looked like a giant metal flower with thousands of lights blinking across its surface. Jake had never seen anything so big or strange in his entire life. "Captain, we're getting another message from the station," said Commander Nina Rodriguez from her seat next to him. She was reading the alien text that appeared on their screen. "They want us to dock at Port 7 and follow something called Integration Protocol 5. Jake scratched his beard and looked at the message. The words were translated by their computer, but they still sounded weird. Everything about this situation felt wrong to him. 3 days ago, these aliens had sent them an invitation to join something called the Galactic Council. They said all new species had to go through this process, but nobody had asked the humans if they wanted to join anything. "What do you think, Lisa?" Jake asked Dr. Lisa Grant, who was studying her tablet in the corner of the bridge. She was their best scientist and had been working day and night to understand the alien biology data they had received. Lisa looked up from her screen with worried eyes. "Captain, I've been reading their files about other species in this council. Every single one of them follows the same patterns. They all have strict social rules. They all make decisions based on pure logic, and they all do exactly what their instincts tell them to do." "So what's the problem?" asked Colonel Danny Phillips, their military advisor. He was a big man with scars on his face from old battles. "Sounds like they have their act together." Lisa shook her head. "That's just it, Danny. We don't fit their pattern at all. Look at us right now. Jake is making decisions based on his gut feeling. Nina is worried about our people back home. You're thinking about potential threats, and I'm trying to solve this. Like a puzzle. We're all human, but we're all thinking completely different ways." Professor Alex Carter, their language expert, looked up from his translation work. "She's right. I've been studying their communication patterns. Every species talks the same way. They state facts, make logical conclusions, and never argue with authority. But listen to us. We question everything. We argue with each other, and we make decisions based on feelings as much as facts." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had been in enough dangerous situations to know when something was wrong. "Are you saying they might see us as a threat?" "I'm saying they might not understand us at all," Lisa replied. "And things we don't understand often scare us." The communication screen lit up again. This time they could see an alien face. It looked like a tall, thin human with blue skin and 4 eyes. When it spoke, its voice was perfectly calm and emotionless. "Human vessel Aurora's Edge, you are late for your scheduled docking. Please proceed to Port 7 immediately and prepare for integration processing. Failure to comply will result in standard containment procedures." Jake felt his anger rising. He didn't like being ordered around, especially by someone who threatened his crew. "Nina, open a channel." "Captain, maybe we should," Nina started to say. "Open the channel," Jake said firmly. The alien's 4 eyes focused on Jake when his image appeared on their screen. "I am Fleet Admiral Zekthor of the Valtari Empire. You will dock your vessel and submit to our procedures." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Aurora's Edge. We received your invitation to talk, but nobody said anything about submitting to anything. We came here to meet you as equals, not to be processed like cargo." All 4 of the alien's eyes blinked at the same time. There was a long pause before it spoke again. "Your response does not match standard protocols. New species always agree to integration procedures. It is the logical course of action." "Maybe for your other species," Jake replied. "But we humans like to know what we're getting into before we agree to anything." Professor Carter quickly typed something on his tablet and showed it to Jake. It said, "Warning, this is not how they expect new species to behave." Jake read the message but didn't change his expression. "Admiral, we're willing to meet with your council and discuss joining your galactic community. But we'll do it as free beings, not as subjects being processed." The alien's face showed something. That might have been confusion. "Free beings? All species in the galaxy follow the authority of the Galactic Council. This is how civilization works." Not our civilization, Jake said. We humans believe in making our own choices. Danny leaned over to Jake and whispered, Captain, we're one small ship surrounded by a massive space station. Maybe we should play along for now. Jake looked at his crew. Nina was nervous but determined. Lisa was curious about what would happen next. Alex was excited to learn more about alien culture. Danny was ready to fight if necessary. They were all different, but they were all human. They all wanted to choose their own path. Admiral, Jake said, looking back at the screen. We'll dock at your station, but we're coming as guests, not prisoners. We'll meet with your council, but we reserve the right to say no to anything we don't like. If that's not acceptable, we'll turn around and go home right now. The alien stared at Jake for a long moment. Behind Zekthor, other aliens were moving around frantically. Jake could hear them talking in their own language, but their voices sounded panicked. This is unprecedented, Zekthor finally said. No species has ever made demands during first contact. Then I guess we're your first, Jake replied with a smile. The communication ended abruptly. Jake looked at his crew and saw a mix of excitement and worry on their faces. Well, Nina said, that didn't go according to their plan. No, Jake agreed, but it went according to ours. We came here to meet them as equals. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Outside the ship, the massive space station continued to blink its thousands of lights. But now Jake noticed something different. The lights were blinking faster, and he could see small ships moving around the station in patterns that looked almost frantic. Lisa, he said, start recording everything. I have a feeling we just became the most interesting thing to happen to this galaxy in a very long time. Dr. Sam Mitchell sat very still as the alien scientists moved their strange machines around his body. The medical bay on Concordia Prime looked like something from a science fiction movie, with floating screens and devices that hummed with energy. He didn't understand. But Sam wasn't worried about the technology. He was worried about the way the aliens kept looking at him. Please remain motionless, said Dr. Veltarn, the lead scientist. The alien looked like a tall insect with 6 arms and large black eyes. We are detecting readings that do not match our understanding of biology. Sam glanced over at Katie Brooks, who was sitting on another table nearby. She was their best engineer and had volunteered for the tests along with him. Both of them had agreed to let the aliens study them if it would help with the diplomatic talks. But now Sam was starting to wonder if that had been a smart choice. What kind of readings? Katie asked. She never could stay quiet when she was curious about something. Doctor, Veltarn's 6 arms moved in what might have been confusion. Your brain activity shows patterns we have never seen before. Most disturbing is that your neural pathways are changing while we observe them. Another alien scientist, Dr. Melkari, approached with a floating screen showing colorful images. Look at these scans. In the past hour, both subjects have grown new connections between brain cells. Their minds are literally rebuilding themselves as they experience new things. Sam felt a chill run through him. Is that bad? It is impossible, Dr. Veltarn replied. All known species have fixed neural patterns from birth. Your thoughts should follow predictable paths based on your genetics and early training, but you humans appear to create new thought patterns constantly. Katie sat up straighter on her table. So our brains work differently than yours. What's the big deal? Dr. Melkari brought up another screen showing DNA sequences. The big deal is that this should not be possible for any living creature. We have studied your genetic code, and it contains sequences that activate and deactivate based on your experiences. Your bodies can literally change their own design. Change how? Sam asked. Watch this, Dr. Veltarn said. The alien picked up a device that looked like a small laser. We are going to give you a minor injury to see how your body responds. Before Sam could object, the alien touched the device to his arm. Sam felt a sharp pain and looked down to see a small cut bleeding on his skin. Hey, Katie said angrily. You can't just hurt people without asking. But Dr. Veltarn wasn't listening to Katie. The alien was staring at Sam's arm with all 6 eyes wide open. Impossible, it whispered. Sam looked down at his arm and gasped. The cut was already closing. Not just healing normally, but actually growing new skin right before their eyes. Within 2 minutes, there was no sign he had ever been injured. How did you do that? Dr. Melkari asked, moving closer with scanning devices. I didn't do anything, Sam said, touching the spot where the cut had been. My body just healed itself. No, Dr. Veltarn said firmly. Your body did not just heal. It analyzed the injury, activated dormant genetic sequences, produced new types of healing cells, and rebuilt the damaged tissue with improved resistance to similar injuries. This process should take weeks, not minutes. Katie was staring at Sam's arm with fascination. Are you saying we can evolve in real time? That appears to be exactly what we are saying, Dr. Melkari replied. And it terrifies us. The door to the medical bay opened and Security Chief Ryan Palmer walked in. He was supposed to be their guard, but Sam could tell he was really there to spy on the tests. Ryan had been injured in a shuttle accident 2 days ago and should still be in bed recovering from broken ribs and internal bleeding. How are you feeling, Ryan? Katie asked with concern. Ryan stretched and moved his arms around. Better than new, actually. The doctors here keep saying I should be dead, but I feel great. Dr. Veltarn quickly moved over to Ryan with a scanner. The alien's hands were shaking as it read the results. Your injuries have not simply healed. Your bones are now 30% stronger than they were before the accident. Your internal organs have developed additional protective tissue. Your body has used the trauma to upgrade itself. Upgrade? Ryan asked. Your species does not just adapt to survive, Dr. Melkari explained. You adapt to thrive. Every challenge makes you stronger. Every injury teaches your body to be more resistant. Every new experience expands your mental abilities. Sam was beginning to understand why the aliens looked so scared. And other species don't do this? Other species evolved from prey animals, Dr. Veltarn said. When faced with danger, their instinct is to hide, flee, or submit. They developed intelligence to avoid threats, not to overcome them. But humans evolved differently, Dr. Melkari continued. You descended from hunters. Your ancestors hunted animals larger and more dangerous than themselves. When faced with a threat, your instinct is to study it, adapt to it, and then defeat it. Katie jumped down from her table and started pacing around the room. So while other species developed intelligence to run away from problems, we developed intelligence to solve problems. Exactly, Dr. Veltarn said. And that makes you the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever encountered. Ryan laughed. Dangerous? We're just trying to be friendly. That is what makes you so dangerous, Dr. Melkari replied. You do not even realize how different you are. You think your adaptability is normal. You believe everyone can change and grow like you do. But for every other species in the galaxy, change is terrifying. Sam looked at his friends and realized the full weight of what they had discovered. They're afraid of us because we're unpredictable. More than unpredictable, Dr. Veltarn said. You are impossible. According to every law of biology and evolution we understand, your species should not exist. Yet, here you are, adapting and changing faster than we can study you. Katie grinned. Well, I guess that explains why our first meeting didn't go so well. Indeed, Dr. Melkari said. Admiral Zekthor has called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. They are debating whether to classify humans as a dangerous mutation. That must be contained. Contained? Ryan asked, his voice getting harder. Or destroyed? Dr. Veltarn added quietly. The three humans looked at each other, and Sam could see the same thought in all their eyes. The aliens were right about one thing. When humans faced a threat, they didn't run away. They figured out how to win. Captain Beth Turner watched the alien ships approaching through the viewport of her mining station. The Cathari Collective had sent 12 warships to force her people to leave the asteroid belt they had been working for the past 2 months. Beth wasn't surprised. She had been expecting this fight ever since the Galactic Council declared human settlements illegal. How many people do we have on the station? She asked Mike Adams, her chief engineer. Mike looked at his tablet. 43 miners, 12 security guards, and 6 support staff. Plus you, me, and Claire. Claire Watson, their geologist, was studying the scanner readings of the approaching ships. Those are heavy cruisers, Beth. Each one has enough firepower to destroy our entire station. Beth nodded calmly. Most people would be terrified right now, but Beth had learned long ago that panic never solved anything. What about our defenses? We have mining lasers that we can convert to weapons, Mike said. But they're not designed for ship-to-ship combat. Against 12 warships, we might as well throw rocks at them. Actually, Claire said with a thoughtful expression, throwing rocks might not be a bad idea. Before Beth could ask what she meant, the communication system activated. An alien face appeared on the screen. It looked like a gray reptile with smooth skin and large yellow eyes. Human Settlement Designation Alpha 7. This is Commander Threshka of the Cathari Collective. You are occupying this space illegally. You have 1 hour to evacuate before we begin forced removal procedures. Beth stepped in front of the camera. Commander, this is Captain Beth Turner. We filed proper mining claims for this asteroid belt. We're not breaking any laws. Human laws do not apply here, the alien replied. The Galactic Council has determined that your species is too unpredictable to be allowed freedom of movement. You will be relocated to a containment world for your own safety and the safety of others. Containment world? Beth felt her anger rising. You mean a prison? You will be well cared for. Your basic needs will be met, but you cannot be allowed to spread your chaotic influence throughout the galaxy. Beth looked at Mike and Claire. Both of them had the same expression she knew was on her own face. They weren't going to any prison. Commander, Beth said, trying to keep her voice calm, we decline your generous offer. We're staying right here. The alien's yellow eyes narrowed. You have 43 people. We have 12 ships with over 2,000 warriors. Resistance is illogical. Maybe, Beth replied. But it's our choice to make. The communication ended. Beth turned to her crew and saw them all looking at her with determination. None of them looked scared, even though they probably should be. Okay, people, Beth said. We have 1 hour to figure out how to fight 12 warships with mining equipment. Ideas? Lieutenant Commander Pete Jackson stepped forward. He was supposed to be their security chief, but Beth had quickly learned he was much more than that. Actually, Captain, I've been thinking about this problem for weeks, and I think Claire was right about throwing rocks. Explain, Beth said. Pete walked over to the main display and brought up a map of the asteroid belt. The Cathari fight like every other species in the galaxy. They use formation tactics, coordinated attacks, and predictable strategies. They expect us to either surrender or put up a hopeless defense. So what do we do instead? Asked Amy Foster, their communications specialist. We don't fight their ships, Pete said with a grin. We fight the environment. Claire's eyes lit up with understanding. The asteroids. We can move them. Exactly, Pete said. Mike, how much explosive power do we have in our mining charges? Mike thought for a moment. Enough to crack a small moon if we use it all. Good. Carl, you're our demolitions expert. Can you rig charges to push asteroids instead of breaking them apart? Carl Rogers, a quiet man who rarely spoke unless asked, nodded slowly. Yeah, I can do that, but it'll take precise timing. We don't have much time, Amy pointed out. Then we better get creative, Beth said. Pete, what's your plan? Pete pointed to several large asteroids on the map. We place charges here, here, and here. When the Cathari ships enter the belt in their standard formation, we detonate the charges and send these rocks flying at them from unexpected angles. That's insane, Claire said. The physics calculations alone would take hours. Not if we don't try to be perfect, Pete replied. We don't need direct hits. We just need to force them to break formation and react to chaos instead of following. Their plan. Beth was starting to see the strategy. And once their formation is broken? Then we hit them with everything we have while they're confused and separated, Pete said. Our mining lasers might not be military grade, but they'll punch holes in ships that aren't expecting an attack from mining equipment. It's crazy enough that it might work, Mike said. The Cathari will never expect us to weaponize the entire asteroid belt. For the next 50 minutes, the entire crew worked with an efficiency that amazed Beth. Nobody argued about the plan or worried about the risks. Everyone just focused on their part of the job. Mike and his engineers converted mining lasers into weapons. Carl and his team placed explosive charges on key asteroids. Amy coordinated communications between all the teams while Claire calculated the best trajectories for maximum chaos. When the Cathari ships entered the asteroid belt in perfect formation, Pete was ready. "Now," he said quietly. The first asteroid, pushed by carefully placed explosives, came tumbling toward the alien ships from above. The lead ship detected it and moved to avoid collision. But that put it directly in the path of the second asteroid, which was approaching from the side. "They're breaking formation," Amy reported. "Ships are scattering to avoid the rocks." "Phase 2, Pete said. "Light them up." The converted mining lasers opened fire on the scattered alien ships. The weapons weren't designed for space combat, but they were powerful enough to cut through metal. Several Cathari ships took damage before they could react. "Impossible," came Commander Threshka's voice over the communication system. "You are using mining equipment and space debris as weapons. This violates all standards of civilized warfare." "We're not civilized," Beth replied. "We're human." The battle continued for 2 hours. The Cathari ships tried to regroup several times, but every time they formed up, more asteroids came flying at them from unexpected directions. Carl had rigged charges throughout the belt, and Pete was setting them off in sequence to keep the aliens confused and separated. Finally, Commander Threshka's ship limped away from the battle zone, followed by the remaining vessels of his fleet. "Human, Settlement Alpha 7, came the alien's voice, now sounding defeated. "You have violated every principle of logical warfare. Your tactics make no sense." "They made sense to us," Beth replied. "And they worked. This engagement will be reported to the Galactic Council. Your unpredictable nature has been proven to be a threat to galactic stability." "Good," Pete said loud enough for the alien to hear. "Maybe now they'll understand that we're not going to any prison." After the Cathari ships disappeared, Beth looked around at her crew. They were all grinning with excitement and pride. They had just defeated 12 warships using mining equipment and thrown rocks. "Well," Claire said, "I guess we proved their point about humans being unpredictable." "Yeah," Beth agreed. "But we also proved something else. We proved that unpredictable doesn't mean weak." Mike was already back at work, checking their equipment for damage. "Captain, we should probably expect more visitors. This won't be the last time someone tries to force us to leave." Beth nodded. "Then we better get ready for them, because we're not going anywhere." As she watched her crew return to their work, Beth realized that the aliens were right about one thing. Humans were unpredictable. But what the aliens didn't understand was that unpredictable could also mean unstoppable. Dr. Ben Shaw sat in his small office aboard the research station Deep Horizon, staring at the data that would change everything. For 6 months, he had been studying how human behavior was affecting other species throughout the galaxy. What he had discovered was both amazing and terrifying. "Lucy, you need to see this," he called to his friend in the next room. Pilot Lucy Stone walked in carrying a cup of coffee and sat down across from his desk. She had just returned from a 3-week exploration mission beyond the galactic rim, and she looked tired but excited. "What's got you so worked up, Ben?" she asked. Ben turned his computer screen so she could see it. "I've been tracking social changes across 47 different alien worlds. Ever since first contact with humans, other species have been acting differently." "Differently how?" "They're starting to act like us," Ben said. "Young aliens are questioning their elders, taking risks, making decisions based on emotions instead of pure logic. The Galactic Council is calling it a contamination, but I think it's evolution." Lucy leaned forward to look at the data more closely. "Give me an example." "Yesterday, a group of young Valtari scientists ignored direct orders from their superiors and conducted an unauthorized experiment. When it succeeded, they argued with their commanders about why the orders were wrong. 6 months ago, no Valtari would have even considered disobeying authority. And this is happening everywhere?" "Not everywhere," Ben admitted. "The older, more established aliens are terrified and trying to stop it, but the younger ones are embracing change. They're calling it thinking like humans. Lucy grinned. I bet that's making the council nervous. You have no idea, Ben said. But that's not even the most interesting part. Look at this. He brought up another screen showing exploration data. Remember that region beyond the galactic rim that the council declared impossible to explore? The area they said was too dangerous for any ship to survive? Yeah, they've been saying that for centuries. Something about gravitational anomalies and energy storms. Greg, Holly, and I just got back from there, Lucy said. We not only survived, we found something incredible. Ben's eyes widened. You went to the Forbidden Zone? We figured that if the council said it was impossible, it was probably just difficult. And humans are pretty good at doing difficult things. What did you find? Lucy pulled out her tablet and showed him pictures of massive ruins floating in space. An entire civilization, millions of years old. Greg thinks they were the species that ruled the galaxy before the current council was formed. Ben studied the images. The ruins were beautiful and complex, with architecture that seemed to blend art and science in ways he had never seen before. What happened to them? That's where it gets interesting, Lucy said. Holly found their historical records. This species had achieved perfect order. No crime, no conflict, no unpredictability. Everyone knew their role and followed it exactly. That sounds like paradise to the current council species. That's what we thought too, Lucy agreed. But then we found the final records. The species died out because they couldn't adapt to change. When their star system started to shift, they couldn't think of new solutions. When their planet's climate changed, they couldn't modify their behavior. They were so perfectly organized that they had lost the ability to be flexible. Ben felt a chill run down his spine. They went extinct because they were too predictable. Exactly. And get this. The records show that right before the end, a small group of younger members started acting chaotically. They tried to save their civilization by breaking the rules and trying new approaches. Did it work? Lucy shook her head sadly. The older generation stopped them. They said the chaos was too dangerous and could destroy their perfect society. So they chose to die perfectly rather than live messily. Ben leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. This changes everything. We're not a dangerous mutation, we're an evolutionary solution. To what? To the stagnation that's been killing galactic civilization for millions of years, Ben said excitedly. Think about it, Lucy. How long has the current council been in power? How much have they advanced in the last 1,000 years? Lucy thought about it. Not much. They seem to do the same things the same way generation after generation. Because they're terrified of change, Ben said. Just like the extinct species. They've created a perfectly ordered society, and now they're trapped in it. So what do we do with this information? Ben was already typing on his computer. We publish it. We show everyone in the galaxy what happened to the last species that achieved perfect order. The council won't like that. I'm counting on it, Ben said. Sometimes you have to make people angry to make them think. Over the next 2 weeks, Ben's research spread throughout the galaxy faster than anyone had expected. The report was translated into hundreds of languages and discussed on every civilized world. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. On the planet Xerion, a group of young scientists publicly challenged their government's ban on risky research. On Keltos Prime, artists began creating works that violated traditional aesthetic rules. Throughout the galaxy, young members of various species were embracing what they called human thinking. Commander Steve Wright, who had been serving as a military liaison between humans and the council, found himself in the middle of the crisis. He was attending an emergency council session when the debate erupted into chaos. The human contamination must be stopped, shouted Senator Velkrin of the hierarchical order. Our young people are becoming unpredictable and dangerous. Dangerous to whom? Asked Counselor Zephyra, one of the younger council members. To the rigid system that has kept us from advancing for millennia? Order is what separates us from primitive chaos, Senator Velkrin responded. Without structure, civilization collapses. But what if our structure is what's killing us? Zephyra shot back. What if the humans are showing us that we need to change or die like the ancients did? Steve watched the argument with fascination. 6 months ago, no council member would have dared to question the established order. Now they were having the same kinds of debates that humans had been having for centuries. "Counselors," Steve said, standing up. "May I make a suggestion?" The chamber fell silent. Steve knew that as a human he was barely tolerated at these meetings, but he also knew that what he said next could change everything. "You're afraid that human unpredictability will destroy your civilization," he said. "But what if it's the only thing that can save it?" "Explain," demanded Senator Velkrin. "Every species in this galaxy evolved the same way, by avoiding change and following safe patterns. But the universe doesn't stay the same. Stars die, planets shift, new challenges arise. A civilization that can't adapt to change will eventually face a challenge it can't handle. And then," Steve gestured toward the images of the ancient ruins that Lucy had discovered, "and then it dies out. Just like the perfect civilization that came before you." Zephyra nodded thoughtfully. "You're saying that chaos and unpredictability are necessary for survival." "I'm saying that the ability to change is what separates living civilizations from dead ones," Steve replied. "Humans aren't trying to destroy your order. We're trying to give you the tools to survive whatever comes next." The chamber erupted in discussion as council members argued about humanity's role in galactic civilization. But Steve noticed something important. They were arguing. They were questioning. They were thinking like humans. The change had already begun, and there was no stopping it now. General Kevin Hunt stood on the bridge of the human flagship Liberty's Call, watching as thousands of alien ships assembled in battle formation. The hegemony of absolute order had declared war on humanity and any species showing signs of chaos, contamination. Their fleet was the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. "How many ships are we facing?" asked Captain Diana Mills, who commanded the Liberty's Call. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Garcia checked his scanner readings. 2,416 warships from 12 different species, all following perfect formation patterns and coordinated attack strategies. Kevin nodded grimly. The enemy had superior numbers, better weapons, and ships designed specifically for warfare. By every logical calculation, the humans and their allies should lose this battle decisively. "And how many ships do we have?" Diana asked. 347, Tony replied. "But they're all different designs from different species. We have human mining vessels, Valtari science ships, Kelton cargo haulers, and even some old Zarian patrol boats. Nothing matches anything else." "Perfect," Kevin said with a smile that confused the alien officers on his bridge. Commander Zephyra, who had left the Galactic Council to join the human fleet, looked puzzled. "General Hunt, how is our disadvantage perfect?" "Because they're expecting us to fight like a traditional fleet," Kevin explained. "They've studied every major space battle in galactic history and prepared countermeasures for every known tactic. But we're not going to fight like anyone has ever fought before." The communication system activated, and the face of Supreme Admiral Korthax appeared on the screen. The leader of the hegemony looked like a combination of all the most rigid alien species, tall metallic gray skin and eyes that showed no emotion whatsoever. "Human fleet, you are outnumbered 7-1. Surrender now and you will be relocated to containment worlds. Refuse, and you will be destroyed along with any aliens foolish enough to follow your chaotic influence." Kevin stepped in front of the camera. "Admiral Korthax, this is General Kevin Hunt. We appreciate the offer, but we'll have to decline." "Your resistance is mathematically impossible," the alien replied. "Our fleet operates with perfect coordination. Every ship knows its exact role and will execute it flawlessly. You command a collection of mismatched vessels with no unified command structure." "You're absolutely right," Kevin agreed. "We have no unified command structure. Every ship captain is making their own decisions based on their own judgment. It's complete chaos." "Then you will lose," Kevin grinned. "We'll see about that." The communication ended, and Kevin turned to his crew. "Tony, send the signal to all ships. Operation Mayhem is a go." Throughout the human fleet, captains received the same simple message: "Fight your own battle." Trust your instincts. Adapt as needed. Rachel Moore, the engineer who had revolutionized faster-than-light communication, was aboard a converted research vessel called the Breakthrough. She had spent weeks developing new technology that combined human intuition with alien science in impossible ways. "Rachel," came the voice of her captain over the intercom. "Are you ready to test your new toy?" Rachel looked at the device she had built using parts from 6 different alien technologies. According to every scientific principle she knew, it shouldn't work, but human intuition told her it would. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied. The battle began when the hegemony fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Every ship maintained exact spacing and followed predetermined attack patterns. It was beautiful in its precision and terrifying. In its power, the human fleet responded by scattering in all directions. "They're breaking apart," reported the hegemony's tactical officer. "No coordination, no pattern. It's complete disorder." "Excellent," Admiral Korthax said. "Execute attack plan Alpha 7, destroy the scattered vessels one by one." But as the hegemony ships moved to attack individual human vessels, strange things began happening. A mining ship that should have been helpless suddenly appeared behind 3 enemy vessels and disabled them with modified mining lasers. A science ship used its sensor array to jam enemy communications across an entire sector. A cargo hauler released thousands of small containers that exploded like mines when enemy ships approached. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "the human vessels are using their equipment in ways we didn't anticipate. They're turning civilian tools into weapons." "Adapt our strategy," Admiral Korthax ordered. "Which strategy should we implement, sir?" "The one designed to counter their current tactics." "Sir, they don't have consistent tactics. Every ship is fighting differently. There's no pattern to counter." Admiral Frank Davis, commanding a group of mixed alien and human ships, was having the time of his life. His fleet included vessels from 8 different species, none of which had ever worked together before. But instead of trying to force them into a unified strategy, he simply told each captain to do what they did best. The result was beautiful chaos. Valtari ships used their advanced sensors to coordinate attacks. Kelton vessels used their speed to hit enemy ships and escape before they could respond. Human ships used pure unpredictability to confuse and frustrate enemy targeting systems. "Admiral Davis," came Rachel's voice over the communication system. "I'm ready to deploy the new communication network." "Do it," Frank replied. Rachel activated her impossible device, and suddenly every ship in the human fleet could communicate instantly across vast distances without using the standard galactic communication infrastructure. Information flowed freely between vessels, allowing them to coordinate attacks and share tactical data in real time. But the communication network did something else that Rachel hadn't expected. It began connecting with the ships in the enemy fleet that contained young aliens who had been influenced by human thinking. "Sir," reported a hegemony communication officer, "we're receiving unauthorized transmissions from some of our own ships." "What kind of transmissions?" "Questions, sir. Our younger crew members are asking why they're fighting to preserve a system that prevents growth and change." Admiral Korthax felt something he had never experienced before: uncertainty. "Order them to cease unauthorized communications." "Sir, they're refusing to comply. They say they have the right to think for themselves." The battle was turning into something no one had ever seen before. Ships on both sides were changing allegiances in the middle of combat. Young alien crew members were taking control of hegemony vessels and turning them against their own fleet. The perfect order that the hegemony represented was crumbling from within. "This is impossible," Admiral Korthax shouted. "Our crews are trained to follow orders without question." "Not anymore," came a new voice over the communication system. Captain Sarah Johnson, now serving as humanity's first galactic ambassador, appeared on screens throughout both fleets. Behind her stood representatives from dozens of species, all of them young aliens who had embraced human-style thinking. "Admiral Korthax," Sarah said calmly, "the battle is over. Half of your fleet has joined us. The other half is too confused to fight effectively. Your perfect order has been defeated by imperfect cooperation." "You have destroyed galactic civilization," Admiral Korthax replied. but his voice lacked conviction. "No," Sarah said. "We've saved it. The old system was dying because it couldn't change. We're offering something new, a civilization based on voluntary cooperation instead of forced obedience." Admiral Frank Davis brought his mixed fleet alongside the remaining hegemony ships. "Admiral Korthax, your war is over, but your future doesn't have to be. Join us in building something better." For the first time in his life, Admiral Korthax found himself uncertain about what to do next. The logical thing would be to fight to the death. But logic had failed him completely in this battle. "What are you offering?" he asked. "Freedom," Sarah replied. "The freedom to choose your own path, make your own mistakes, and grow from your experiences. The freedom to be unpredictable." Months later, the Free Space Collective held its first assembly. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered not to impose order, but to share ideas and coordinate voluntary cooperation. There were arguments, disagreements, and chaos. But there was also growth, innovation, and hope. Sarah Johnson stood before the assembly and delivered a simple message that would define the new galactic order. The universe is too complex for perfect solutions. It needs messy, adaptable, unpredictable life to explore its infinite possibilities. We're not here to create a perfect civilization. We're here to create a living one. In the audience, humans and aliens sat together, all of them thinking different thoughts, asking different questions, and imagining different futures. It was chaotic and unpredictable. It was perfect,